shot to do what?
Making their way to the ring, talking about the world of professional wrestling, the team of Jeff Martin and the Trendsetter, Bryan Burga, the Jersey Wrecking Crew.
From the studios of HSP, here in the depths of New Jersey, I'm Jeff Martin alongside my tag team partner, the Trendsetter, Bryan Burga, and we are the Jersey Wrecking Crew. Thank you, David Lee, with another amazing intro. Damn, chills. Trendsetter.
Never gets old, man. It never does. Well, it's old in terms of an old intro, but it never gets old in terms of the feeling it gives you.
We are live here on the Give a Shot Network channel, the YouTube. We've got your NXT Stand and Deliver reaction show. Talk about tonight's Stand and Deliver. But first and foremost, I'm Jeff Martin, Trendsetter Bryan Burga. If you can't watch us, make sure you listen to us on all podcast platforms. Make sure to follow us on all our social media at High Spot Podcast. Our backup page on Instagram is the HSP Media. And also, too, don't forget our partnership with the one and only Bucked Up Energy. Greatest tag team partners of all time. Teaming up with the greatest wrestling podcast of all time, HSP. Make sure you go and hit that description, hit the link, and get 20% off by hitting promo code HSP1 and save 20% off all Bucked Up Energy merchandise. The greatest tag team pairing of all time is HSP and Bucked Up. We are talking NXT Stand and Deliver, Trendsetter from St. Louis, Missouri. Meet me in St. Louis, Trendsetter. I don't know.
Well, I met you at St. Louis, Jeff. I just don't know.
I don't know
the reaction of the crowd. Did they meet you as well? Because listen, let's go right off the bat here in terms of we can grade it. We'll go over the match real quick of certain things we want to talk about, man. But the one thing that was left away from it, despite how you want to grade the matches, how you want to view it as a viewer, and you guys, the crew, are watching it, that audience was very dead for a majority of the show, especially for the moments where you had your main event. They kickstarted off with the NXT Women's Championship match. And I'm sorry, but maybe it's a little bit too much for me, but I was expecting a little bit more energy.
Trendsetter, I'm not going to lie to you, dude. We've been with NXT kind of close to since day one, man. We went to that first takeover in San Jose, and that experience alone was just, man, you could see the vibe and the energy. I'm not saying that it's not there anymore. No, I am saying it, Trendsetter. It's not there anymore.
Say it. Yeah,
you go to the PC now, and, you know, you have the faithful there that go and they enjoy the show, and you get the audience into it right now. But it's just a thing that's happened, and it's not just in NXT, but it's like everywhere now. Like we were talking before, prior to the road to WrestleMania, you know, MSG, you know, it was kind of a quiet crowd for a little bit. The last time I saw like an explosion was the Monday Night Raw before Survivor Series, when everybody came out at the Garden. Or it was whatever it was the build to Survivor Series, and we're at MSG, and it was, you know, you had Brock Lesnar come out, you had all this big build up because I had all these guys set up for the men's War Games match and stuff, and, you know, it's few and far between, man. Like the vibe is not there. Something is missing. We talked, and we'll definitely talk about the booking in WWE so far heading into WrestleMania, but, you know, dude, like, this is Stand and Deliver. This is the WrestleMania. This is the one that is where everybody stands and deliver. And, you know, the wrestlers did. I'm not going to criticize the show is good, but the fans were just like, and the problem is, to me, one of the problems is that when you get, for example, like Shawn Michaels comes out, and he comes out and he does, you know, tries to get the people up. And we see Shawn Michaels, of course, you're going to cheer for him. You appreciate the Hall of Famer and everything. But he comes out and then he gives you that speech. And then they say, we're going to take it to that next level. Like you've never. And then they do that kind of false hyping up. And yes, the wrestling on its own is going to be good because these guys are great. But you're thinking that something else is going to happen. You think that they're going to over deliver, or something is going to happen. It's going to shake the landscape of NXT as we know it, right? But it doesn't. It's just the wrestling, and that's what they do. But I don't know, Trendsetter. I think it's just not a plague, but it's just something that's just spread through the entire WWE right now, because it's hard for the fans to get up for these things, man. And these guys busted their ass tonight.
They did, and that's the frustrating part about it, that, stories were there. They were building up for these particular moments and certain storylines or matchups that we were looking forward to. And it really felt like the crowd wasn't giving that same enthusiasm depending on the work rate of everyone who participated tonight. Now, for example, when people talk about, sometimes the reaction's delayed, but again, when people say that, you're talking about stadium arenas. We're not talking about a small enclosure area which has an X amount of people who are very close by to give that impression that it's, a packed house. And when you don't get that reaction, or more importantly, not even the noise, but when I see certain matches happen and it's had, the false finishes, and, it has those moments of, excitement where we're getting to the end and what's going to happen, when it's all over and the count to 3, all of a sudden you see a few people just stand up and go like this. I'm like, what's going on here? Well, where's the enthusiasm? Where's the excitement? You just saw the culmination of a story that led into this match, especially the first one that opened up the night, that you thought was going to be, oh, wow, you're going to start off the women's NXT championship match. The crowd's going to be lively. They're going to be fire. It's going to set the bar for the rest of the night. And the match was really good. We can dive into it in a few seconds, but the crowd didn't just really seem into it. It looks like they were still gathering to get in, and we're kind of just on their hands. That's what it felt like.
Well, I mean, it's only 1,200 seat arena, so I don't, maybe they're getting. I just don't. I just think that, again, while Lola Vice
sarcastic when I said that, obviously, but no, I know what you mean. Yeah.
While Lola Vice deservedly, and you can't be upset about it. Again, though, it's like, was it too late? Is it Kendall's time? And we talked about it on the preview show, and it was proper to take the title off of JC because it was long enough and we needed a change. What happens to JC afterwards, we don't know, but it was overdue now for the title to change hands. She's had a brilliant run for me, if you ask me personally. I think it's a top 5. She's maybe in the top 5 now of women's champions in NXT. But before that, though, it's just quiet. But it's not only just NXT, dude, but you don't expect it in NXT. Now, we haven't done one of these in a long time, and I figured we'd get to do this one because it is Stand and Deliver. It is during we used to be during WrestleMania season. We usually do these. And, we did watch the other NXTs, and, I did kind of get that feeling like the crowd, even before this Stand and Deliver, they were kind of sitting on their hands as well. You'd think it was a New Japan crowd, right? Where there's not a lot of cheering and stuff like that. But again, I can't complain about the wrestling, dude. To me, this was as crisp as a show as I've seen. I think everyone, really, again, delivered on this. But I just think some of the decisions that they've made to get here kind of have deflated everyone. And talk about the Fatal 4-Way match, I'll start off and say congratulations to Tony D'Angelo, but you look at the fans, and you're telling me too, there's fans looking at each other like, what the F, right? And then they finally chanted. It wasn't like everyone was saying you deserve it. It was a few, you could hear whispers, you deserve it. But it wasn't like anything like a childhood dream come true and everyone's standing. It was nothing like that. So we're going to get to the matches here because honestly, to me, this is like a quick rundown, guys. And it's really nothing stood out that much. But, just even that, dude, it just seems like everywhere in WWE right now, there's just an issue of people getting excited. There is a missing piece, don't you think?
I agree to that point. There seems to be a missing piece, but I think the missing piece is the fact that the expectations are so high, especially like you said, we weren't planning on doing this, but you said it was Stand and Deliver. Usually it's around WrestleMania weekend, so there's some type of excitement, some build up towards WrestleMania. So I said, yeah, no, it makes sense. We should do it. But I don't know. I just think the way of what you and I have been doing since the beginning of this road to WrestleMania after the Royal Rumble, I think it's been letdown after letdown. And, there could be an argument there that the expectations might be too high for certain people, certain individuals, or just, not playing the long game, as people say. But I just really feel that it's a feeling of all the fans, whether you're watching SmackDown, Raw, or NXT, all the fans are just feeling really let down. And so even tonight, after a card in a match where I agree for the majority of the show, I'm not gonna say every match was an amazing match, but for the majority of the show, it was a good show, and everyone put forth the effort.
Yeah,
and you don't get that back from the audience. It tells me one of two things: either either you're not connecting in some way in terms of the story or what you're presenting to the audience, which I don't think that is, because they did a really good job tonight of doing that, or two, the audience just feels so completely disconnected. And then I think to myself, then why did you pay a ticket? Because I told you too, after the main event, people were looking at themselves like, really? I paid a ticket for this ending? Regardless of the ending, you want to call it a feel-good story or whatever, they just were kind of looking at themselves like, that's it? This is it? Like, looks like they were expecting more, but because they've been so disappointed, they were just kind of like, you know what? I'm just going to wait and see something happen that clearly didn't happen. So
and that's Shawn Michaels coming out there and again, to me, giving you hype, and then it's going to be the wrestling that's going to stand out, but that's about it. And then it gives you that false sense that something big.
Even you said it too when he came out, right? He did his little dance and stuff, and then all of a sudden he was like, careers will be defined. Story. And it's like it's always the same hype job that they're doing. As much as I love Shawn Michaels, and I can't say he loves the show that much, considering things, but it's the same hype. It's the same rah song, and to the point where I feel like the audience is just kind of tuning it out. That's what it felt like to me. Shawn Michaels is coming out, and the audience is not into it.
So on YouTube Live here, HSP on the Give a Shot Network, we are recapping NXT Stand and Deliver. Let's get started, Trendsetter, with the Women's Championship match. And listen, I was really, this was probably the one I was looking forward to the most, if not Sol and Zarya, and then Blake and Tatum Paxley. So it tells you where I feel about what we were talking about before in the preview about the men's division, right? I thought when they do that old school entrance from the backstage, where it's kind of like in the 90s, I always think about it when Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, Montreal, and they're coming out of Survivor Series, and you have that, like, I wish I could find that whatever that or a song or that instrumental, whatever it is. But man, it is just always seems to send chills, right? No matter what it is. And great job. JC Jane got a nice little video, like, on her entrance and stuff like that. Really well done. The production was good, really good for NXT tonight. And what can you say, man? Kendall Gray is just amazing. Lola Vice is spot on. And JC Jane was a great heel champion that today passed the torch to Lola Vice. And whatever the future holds for JC Jane, with Mania in a few weeks, maybe she gets called up soon. But I mean, I really can't not dislike this match. This match, to me, if you were going to start with a match to hopefully set the mood and the tone for the night, this was it. This was the match. And Lola Vice is your new women's champion. I really can't. This match is, to me, really hard to criticize. Now everyone's complaining about what was those blackouts and everything. And for the ones, well, the fans, when you're lucky enough to go on X tonight, you'll find out why, because JC Jane had a wardrobe malfunction and everything. So guys, picture is worth 1,000 words. So when you see tonight, you're gonna, you might be excited, but
find out.
But again, I can't complain. And yes, I wanted Kendall to win. I think it's her time, but Lola Vice deserving. Kendall's crisp, dude. She seems like she's a 10-year vet. And when she pulls down the straps, dude, the first person I compare is to Kurt Angle. I mean, and she can, and to be the first woman Kurt Angle, because I can't think of a female Kurt Angle right now that I can pair a female with, and she's it. She is spot on. She can chain wrestle. She can transition. I mean, what's not to like, dude? And I'm not one person to ever agree with Dave Meltzer, but she could be, at the end of the day, maybe the greatest, the greatest U.S. born women's wrestler of all time. You never know, dude. But like, this is
right there, Jeff, because now you're starting to talk like Dave Meltzer a lot now, and you start talking like Brian Alvarez. I'm just gonna take my
no. All I did was,
here's the thing. Like, I see your point, and I get it, and I'm giving my flowers to Kendall Gray, and she is all those attributes that you're talking about. But if we're going to go and say she is likely going to be one of the greatest, well, let's give it some time here because a lot of things can happen from,
of course, injuries and
yeah,
booking.
exactly. Just booking standpoints. 'Cause let's be honest, we've seen a lot of people in NXT, female specifically. We thought that, man, sky's the limit, and then what ends up happening, just a different creative direction. Is just it just doesn't click for whatever reason. Perfect example right now, Julia just doesn't click.
Right? Wow. Where's the many times that I said she's can't miss, right? And
Yeah.
but she's a pillar though. She's a pillar, definitely. And of course, they gave you the JC Jane. There's videos of her kind of looking up and nodding at Lola Vice, and you get the feeling that she's really accomplished everything now in NXT. The question is, how are they going to break up Fatal? Not Fatal Attraction.
Influence.
Fatal Influence.
Yep.
If I was the commentator, I would have effed up so many times. How are they going to disband Fatal Influence? So that's probably the only thing left to wrap up. But she's somebody that now, whether you want to argue the fact that she's a top 5 women's champion of all time in NXT, that's up for debate. But I would say she is. And now the question is, what is going to be her future? So I'm pretty sure we'll find out. But I mean, give kudos to all these ladies. They had a great match.
It was a great match. It was a great way to start off the night when you thought you were going to set the bar and get the crowd really into it.
Wow.
Story spoke for itself. Ultimately, for me, I felt that it was just a cop out in terms of the situation that led to this. The match at Madison Square Garden with Kendall Gray and Lola Vice. Like, come on, just pick a one-on-one match. But understandably so, in a scenario like this, it not only protects someone like Kendall Gray, and what I mean by that is the fact that she has the ability of not losing and looking bad, and also protects someone like JC. I completely predicted it incorrectly. I thought it was going to be a scenario where Lola's going to be the bridesmaid and never the bride. She was going to get the pin. It was going to protect Kendall, and JC was going to continue her dominant reign. As much as people maybe don't want to admit it, it has been a dominant reign. A 2-time NXT Women's Champion. And listen, as much as people want to hate her, bash on her in-ring work, bash on her mic skills, whatever the case might be, you still want to see her lose. And she garners a reaction that way. She definitely had an emotional moment at the end. I think that moment is not necessarily just also a passing of the torch, like you said, but it's a moment too, knowing that her time in NXT. I mean, I don't think you can get emotional because a lengthy title reign has ended, and it was such a there's reflection of all the moments you had for that lengthy title reign, and you passing the torch to somebody else. But I think that emotion in her eyes has something to do with the fact that her time in NXT is coming to an end, and she knows it, and she knows she's on to other things because, let alone her character, and she was literally the third wheel in Toxic Attraction. I think that's where you get confused with Fatal Attraction, whatever. It was Toxic Attraction with Mandy Rose, and now it's Fatal Influence here. She was the third wheel. Nobody expected anything from her, and everything else she did was like, just wait and see when they're going to let this one go. That's the feeling I got, and to see where she's come, complete 180, and every single time gets better and better, regardless of what you think about it, whatever you want to think about her in-ring work, doesn't matter. For Lola Vice, I'm happy for her. At scenario, she's been in situations like this before, and you're wondering, like, when is it going to be her moment? And sometimes they don't get their moment, and Lola did. For Kendall, a great performance. I'm not disappointed that she didn't win. I wouldn't have been surprised if she did, because it seems like maybe they kind of wanted to ride that momentum train like they did with Stephanie Vaquer and just kind of skyrocket her right through. But with Kendall, it's just a matter of time. It's not a matter if, the old expression goes, but when it'll happen for Kendall. But listen, she held her own, and she showcased to me in a span, and I know she's been with the NXT roster for a while when she left Evolve, but in the match at MSG and then this one here, she kind of showed herself that she is not necessarily like hoping to get at the level, but she's at that level. More time on the mic, more time connecting with the audience, and it's just going to be a scenario where they're going to now start building up her road to getting to that spot. Will she get there quicker than Lola? I don't know. But again, with Lola, happy for her, and great way to start the event.
And again, for JC Jane, she definitely could be used on somewhere like SmackDown, because definitely they need to find a women's roster. Even though I do believe that there's promise there, but I'm sure JC would make that division stronger. Vanity Project defeated Los Americanos. Very entertaining match. The tag team division there. Listen, it's much better than the state of the tag team division on the main roster, I'll tell you that. But Vanity Project, this is the first time I actually got to look at these guys. and
I've
yeah,
seen them before. I knew.
they're very entertaining. They have a very bright future. I don't want you to kill me with that because anytime I think about somebody's future, you always want to rain on my parade. But I'm going to say that they're going to be. They have a very bright future. So just
Raining your
impressive.
parade. I'm just bringing you back to reality because
Just
nobody tends to over embellish than you, Jeff. Let's be honest.
Well, I know, and nobody's a bigger Debbie Downer than the trendsetter. So, Vanity Project to me, honestly, again, a very impressed, and again, a very bright future, and definitely a team to keep an eye out. And again, these are the future, man. These are the future, and really a great job. Very entertaining tag team match, and Los Americanos are just to me outstanding. Sol Ruca and Zarya. This is another
One second, guys. Just 1 second. Guys, you here on the stream have witnessed that Jeff has spoken more than 2 minutes about tag team wrestling. Thank God. Talk about Debbie Downer. Every single time, guys, I talk about tag team wrestling. He just wants to like, can we wrap it up? I want to move on to something else. I want to move on to
because there's nothing to
Gaga
talk about
over right now. Which female wrestler I'm Gaga over?
SmackDown, right? There's nothing to talk about.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for giving me the benefit of talking about tag team wrestling. Now let's take on to your favorites now, Zarya and Sol Ruca. Which one's your favorite here?
I think I picked Zarya and they went against it. And this is where I'm telling you, man, this is where the booking, I think, kind of deflated everything. Because as great as Sol Ruca is, I didn't need another example of how great she is. To me, this was something where Zarya just comes out like a loser. You know, she lost, but she comes out like, okay, so you're right. And they did not sense the audience. They did not sense the way they book this, and they still gave it to Soul. They have no sense of or no touch or no feel of the error that they made in this booking, and they went with Sol Ruca winning. And Zarya, to me, right now, bad decision, horrible decision to have her lose. And now what happens to her? And everything that Soul said while she was kind of speaking in heel tendencies with her promo, she proved her right. And basically, Soul carried the team. He carried her, and that's what Zarya lost tonight proved Soul. So now you have to, me, in my opinion, now you have to do extra work now, and basically, when you didn't have to, because you could have just built. Zarya would have had a great build up here. If she beat Soul, wouldn't have hurt Soul. And now you have to kind of rebuild Zarya for no freaking reason because you did not feel your audience when you booked the outcome of this match.
Listen, I don't like to agree with you at all in anything, Jeff, but I can't help but agree with you in everything you just said right now. There is honestly, yes, lightning actually has struck. Hell has frozen over, guys. I actually agree with Jeff here. It's amazing, Jeff, how in a scenario like this where maybe we're giving WWE too much credit, or maybe we're giving too much logic and things like this, where you're like, hey, the story writes itself in a way, right? Because who doesn't need it? That's usually what I do when you and I talk about matches and we break down cards, like, who needs this and who doesn't? Who does this hurt and who doesn't need the help? And for me, all signs pointed to Zarya here. Zarya, because Sol Ruca didn't need it. And you just said it too perfectly. It just it validates everything that Sol Ruca said in the heel tendencies that you did to Zarya. You brought Zarya in as this monster. Sol Ruca's character kind of humanized her in a way where she was no longer intimidating. She was no longer a threat. And now, in a scenario where, I mean, we just spoke about JC Jane, right? Where I feel personally, I don't know about you, I didn't get a chance to ask you this question though, but what do you think? I think her time in NXT is winding down. I would say the same for Sol Ruca too, because what is there more for her to accomplish besides the women's championship?
I think that's what's left. I don't think that it's anytime soon. I thought maybe after WrestleMania she'd be one of the people called up, but if after the victory there's a backstage segment where it's talking about her match with Zarya. It was the hardest match she's ever had in her opinion because of just the knowledge between both of them and their styles and everything, and obviously emotional besides physical. And then she's focused on championships, which could mean only one thing, and that's one thing that's eluded her is the NXT Women's Championship. And then it's confronted by Izzy Dame. And so it seems like that's going to be next. They're going to be competing for the Women's Championship. So I think that I think it's more later than sooner for Sol to be moved on to the main roster, which is kind of head scratching to me. In that question to you, I think she's not leaving anytime soon.
And with that, what was the point of having her lose if she was eventually, after the end of this whole thing, which some would argue that this shouldn't be just a one and done? Kind of looks from the way it's set up in that interview you just mentioned. I didn't catch that one. Thank you for telling me about that right now, because now it just solidifies the fact that it seems to be a one and done, because they're going to move Sol Ruka into something, because this storyline between them lasted so long for something to happen. Now I think people are kind of fed up and tired with it and want Sol to move on something else. So you've basically given nothing to Zarya. And anything she does now will be completely irrelevant, because when you think of WrestleMania, for NXT Stand and Deliver is their WrestleMania. It's their biggest event.
Culminates
and the one person that needed this more than anyone was Zarya. For the mere fact that if Sol Ruka had lost this, there's no doubting that she was going on to now going after championship gold after this whole thing is over, and would have validated Zarya's point in saying that I'm a number one player in this women's division. And you completely crushed it. And you just said they're going to have to do a lot of work. No, you didn't have to do a lot of work. It was right there for you where you didn't have to do it, and it ended up happening. So
how does it help Zarya? Now Zarya could beat the hell out of Sol Ruka on Tuesday, but it still doesn't matter. The victory in this one, where you talk about wins, sometimes do anything, it means a lot in this one. It really does. Zarya, it would have helped her a lot. Sol is to the point, and she's so over, that this loss would not have hurt her, even if she wanted to chase championships. I don't know if they felt that they wanted to culminate this match, and by giving Zarya the victory, they would have felt they would have to do another one. But whatever. I mean, this is like,
great, have another one. And then Sol wins that one. Who cares? But at this stage, Zarya needed that one.
Yeah, we're gonna remember this one more than whatever the second one was, because it was so personal that the first one is always going to be the one that makes a statement in a rivalry. So definitely, it's a head scratcher, man. Zarya should have won this, but it was a great match, and again, a very crisp. The Soul Snatchers by Sol Ruka, the one that was on the ramp, which was really hard hitting, the camera angle where they had Sol get up slowly, and then Zarya comes up with her, and I'm telling you, man, like it was, to me, such a missed opportunity, because it was such a good match and such a memorable match, and just it's probably one of Zarya's best ones that she's had there. And Sol is just Sol. She's good. She's dependable. She's gonna deliver, and it would have made sense for Zarya to come out victorious, Trendsetter. So we got that backstage segment though, which kind of solidifies the fact that Sol will be there a little bit longer in NXT. We got Miles Bourne and Johnny Gargano, Trendsetter, for the Men's North American Championship. We got Johnny wrestling, but at the end of the day, I know I was saying Johnny Gargano was going to win, but I guess I was just speaking more from my heart than my head, because Johnny Gargano was basically, Triple H or Sean, hey, can you put this guy over, kid? And it would really solidify him as the North American champion by beating the Mr. North American champion, right? Kind of the passing of the torch. And I don't know where Gargano goes back to this. His tweet from tonight was like, he lost more than you know. And so I don't know if he goes back to just being that miserable guy that is just not motivated, or is just down on his luck, and is just going to mope all over SmackDown, right? But I think Candice played her a role good, and I think, her frustration on her face, knowing that Johnny's going to probably go back to that gimmick, and it's going to be start all over again on SmackDown. But good for Miles Bourne. But I don't know, man. Like, I see him, and like I said, not that I hate him because he's dating Stephanie Vaquer or whatever like that. Put that aside. He has everything. He's got the tools. He's got the Randy Orton look. He's good in the ring. It's just, to me, like, and I said it to you, Miles Bourne, he's kind of bland to me. Like, there's just something that's missing with him that doesn't make me think he's surefire yet. What do you think?
100%. In terms from a look standpoint, Jeff, how many times have we looked at professional wrestlers and just had a look and see them from a physical standpoint, be like, man, that looks like a package right there. I'm not talking about the package you did. The package there where it's like, man, that looks like a star.
Yeah.
Look right there. But the thing that's going to be the biggest uphill battle for Miles, and it has nothing to do with his disability of not being able to hear, it's the fact that as much as the crowd does like him, he needs to find a manner, or not maybe necessarily him, but creative for NXT and Shawn Michaels in that group, You need to find a way of making him more vulnerable. Listen, there's nothing that I've seen in Miles Bourne. I mean, except his match with Obafemi, where he was an underdog because Oba was so much of a bigger guy. So it was kind of an uphill battle in a way because Miles Bourne is not a small dude, and it looked like a David versus a Goliath. That just shows you the believability of a guy like Obafemi. In a scenario like this, there was no threat to me of a guy like Johnny Gargano, Johnny Wrestling was going to be a threat. Could he out wrestle him? Could he go move for move? Yes, but from a visual standpoint, you're like, come on, really? Do I really look at Johnny Gargano? No offense to him as a threat. So that's going to be the hardest thing for me looking at Miles Bourne. Can he connect with the audience and can they feel for him as being a champion and not being a champion in terms that has to prove himself? Because that's one of the things I hate the most about when somebody wins a title and they're new, that now it's like, oh, you've held the title now, but now you don't know what it's like to defend it. Are you a one-hit wonder? And kind of feeling that I hate that thing.
It's not even that. I'm talking about personality, though, Trendsetter. That to me is what I don't see him like, you know, I could see him with all the North American championships in the world, but it just, to me, it's just, I don't know. Like, I can't see him
That's
as
part of it, though, Jeff.
Yeah,
They
no.
don't feel for him or think he's an underdog. They're not going to allow him a chance to showcase his personality if he has one, because I don't know if he does.
Yeah, I just, when I see him, like, I mean, he's a good wrestler, and I don't know. I just, again, it's just like, what else is there, right? And no, I get what you're saying, dude. I get what you're saying, but just when I look at him, though, I kind of look, and I'm like, all right, yeah, okay. To me, I don't think he could ever be a heel because he just doesn't have that. But then, can he maintain a baby face enough to be a world champion? And I don't know. I just see him kind of like right now, just a mid carder, and a champion he could be. But I don't know, dude. It's just, to me, it's just something, and I can't put my finger on it because I'd be the first one to say what's wrong. But there's something that I just doesn't get me excited about Miles Bourne.
Well, you better hope Stephanie doesn't listen to this live stream right now. She'll be really.
I know she might not sign an autograph for me and just ignore me. You know, so.
Heaven forbid, right?
But
listen, congratulations to Miles Bourne. Is there a lot of work to be done with Miles? Yes. How they get there, I guess we'll find out, man. But right now, it seems like an uphill battle. He's the champion. He's the North American champion, but he doesn't feel like it to me.
100%. Tatum Paxley and Blake Monroe for the Women's North American Championship, a championship that, let's be honest, Blake technically didn't lose, but she lost, and she's been carrying around that championship, taking it from Tatum Paxley. I love the way this feud started when she was on the ramp, pulled her down, and I thought we were gonna see the woman from hell. Now this match got really physical, and it just shows you that Mariah May, Blake Monroe, when she was Mariah May in AEW, it seemed that she can do those things. Obviously, the amazing rivalry with Toni Storm, she can do that stuff, and she was great at it today. And the both kind of, the little Brock and Undertaker kind of laugh and look that they gave each other too, that they can go there when they have to, and that's great. But again, I'm glad for Tatum Paxley. What bothers me more is I just don't think that there's enough respect in booking Blake Monroe, because she can do so much. She's so far ahead of a lot of females there, as far as like grasping everything else, like not just being a one tool person. She can bring you into a match through her promos. She can, through her wrestling, she can make you, because I just think she's on that a little better level than some of the girls there. And I just don't think that there's that respect of who she is, because to me, she didn't have to establish herself from AEW. And I feel like WWE NXT is making her show us, when I think it's very egotistical on their part to ask her, out of anybody, to do so. I get why, because the WWE way, and yes, she gets to learn. To me, it's all about the aesthetics with Blake. Oh, I got to learn, proper, camera position, hard cam, how they do it, that kind of stuff. But those are minor details. I think she has everything, and I just don't think right now the booking gives her the respect that she deserves.
Well, time will tell with that one too. The only thing that I would argue against what you're saying is the fact that I've seen Blake Monroe on interviews with my former colleague. He was lucky to be a colleague of mine, Sam Roberts, And she said to him that she actually requested to be part of NXT because she felt there was no space for her on the main roster. And it's hard to believe, as talented as Mariah May, Blake Monroe is, you're thinking, how could you not feel you're that talented enough? So she showed a little bit of humbleness in that sense, saying that, you know, she's in no rush and she feels she has a lot more to learn. And more importantly, it's going to be a slow build, because I think this one, more than anything, listen, she's had rivalries on NXT already, but I think this rivalry has been one of the best ones she's had, because they're just so distinct opposites, her and Tatum, that it just worked well. This is one of the best matches I've seen Blake Monroe in too, where she didn't have to literally kill herself. It was a physical match. It had all those dynamics you were talking about. And I think it's eventually going to happen for her, where, you know, I looked at it more from the vantage point, and I don't know if you'll agree with me when I say this though, but as much as I do want to see Blake Monroe on the main roster, I want to see her as a women's champion or competing for the NXT Women's Championship and things of that nature, right? She, for me at least, presents, in terms of her total package, again, pun intended, right? Her whole presentation of who she is, whether she's Mariah May or Blake Monroe, I don't think she really needs a title at this point right now. I want to see her as a champion, but she's that good right now where you just notice her and she doesn't need a title. So it's good for Tatum. And I think this is going to be a lengthy rivalry where it's not the end of it right here. And she will eventually become Women's North American champion. But in this scenario, I think it meant more for Tatum to retain it as opposed to Blake Monroe winning it. So,
yeah, I have no problem with Tatum again winning. I think Tatum's very talented too, but on just to answer your thing, I get it that she chose to go to NXT, which is fine. I just think again the booking does not right now. It does not suit to her level that she is right now. That's all I'm saying about
if
that.
this story goes the way I think it's going to go in terms of just the dynamic between the two of them, I think this will be the best story she's been in since she debuted in NXT. So we'll see.
And obviously, there's the Tatum celebrating with Shiloh Hill that she regained her championship. She walks off. She starts talking to the championship belt. And then Blake comes back and she's hurting. And she runs into the Vanity Project. And obviously, they sympathize. They tell her, sorry about, not about losing the match. And then they say if they can do anything to help her out. And then she says, just follow me and get a hairbrush. So we'll see what happens there. So obviously, to me, we might see like a little faction here, which is pretty cool. And so we'll see what happens, because obviously Vanity Project, they're a great tag team. So we'll see what happens there, Trendsetter. We'll see if I will be proved wrong with the way they're treating Blake Monroe. And we'll see on Tuesday night what the future holds in that rivalry, if we're going to get more matches between them. And then, Trendsetter, the Fatal 4-Way. And again, I'm not going to spend too much time on this because to me, the wrong person won. Listen, I'll tell you one thing. When I saw these guys come out, all these guys have really focused on their appearance. From Ricky Starks, looked like $1 million. Ethan Page,
Ricky Saints.
Ricky, oh my God, Ricky Saints. Looked like $1 million too. He's taking care of himself. Ethan Page, kudos to him, man. That guy's ready. That's all I'm gonna say on that. Joe Hendry looking pretty decent too. Like, he's hitting the gym at the Performance Center too. Good for him. And Tony D'Angelo, I'm gonna praise him because he's come back. He's repackaged himself. Kudos to him. And the look, I mean, we thought that gimmick was going to work when he was the Don and all that stuff, and with the family and that nonsense. It wasn't something that was going to stick to me on the main roster. He comes back repackaged, but this is, to me, was the wrong move, Trendsetter. And the fans, this is not one of the. To me, this is not. If this was in the PC, maybe would have gotten a better reaction, because they're pulling for Tony, and he's kind of like, it's kind of a niche group that are in the PC. They're kind of the regulars, so they have more of a relationship with the wrestlers that are there. This is in St. Louis, so it's not like these people can relate or can feel for what Tony D'Angelo's career has gone and stuff. So I think this would have been better done if it was in the PC. The reaction was, you had like a those little golf claps, whatever, like that, and that was it. And then you had a little bit of "You Deserve It," and that's about it. And again, it's not anything personal with Tony D'Angelo, but I just don't see it. I never will. And then the thing is, Joe Henry takes the pin, so I don't know what that's supposed to do. And here's the thing, though, what, nothing excites me about Tony D'Angelo defending that championship against Joe Henry, like against Ethan Page and Ricky Saints. Now, like what does that do? And it just is like I have no answers for that. Maybe they do. They most likely have answers, but Tony D'Angelo winning to me does nothing. Does it just it just ends caps off a night that was promising to like, okay, title change, but wasn't the right one for me. How about you?
Man, there's so much I could say right now. I don't want to be long-winded like I usually am. Congratulations to Tony D'Angelo. Listen, he has done a tremendous job of repackaging himself and looks different. So I will give him credit for that. I'll give creative credit for that too. But if you're going to make this a feel-good story, and there's a little video package. I gotta be careful when I say the word package now. There's a little video package that was aired before Tony D'Angelo came out and kind of gave a little synopsis of the story of what his goals were when he came back to NXT. And one of them was, one was the Dark Order, right? Not Dark Order. One was Dark State. I'm talking about the wrong show here.
Which, by the way, too, one last thing with Dark State, Deion Lewis attacked Miles Bourne, and I didn't say that too because we were just like talking about Miles Bourne. He attacks him with a chair after he, kind of does a little nod of appreciation to Johnny Gargano. Hits him in the back with a chair. Again, I could give two craps about Deion Lewis, whatever, like Lennox down, and again, it's just like that. The men's division is a huge issue. Okay, now let's go to Tony D'Angelo because I want to get that one in there.
No, it's fine. But for me, to your point too, if you're going to make this a feel-good story, the same example I used for Zarya and Sol Ruca, that this is supposed to be your biggest, this is your WrestleMania, Stand and Deliver. You couldn't do it for Zarya, but you did it for Tony D'Angelo, which I would have understood why you're doing it, but you did it in such a quick manner. They didn't allow for people who, there were definitely people there in the audience rooting for him because he did get a little bit of a standing ovation, half clap, whatever, little small chance of you deserve it, but not into what you could have built it to be. And again, it's easy to play Monday morning quarterback when it's all over. But listen, if you have gone all out of your way to build up Joe Hendry and make him the important face of NXT, and you're doing this, I really feel that they did this. They rushed it, and they did it more because it was a feel-good story. And it was more of like, hey, we want to leave people with a shocking moment. And I think that was the main, at least what I believe. I have nothing to back it up, just my gut feeling that they wanted to be a shocking moment. They wanted it to be like, it's not going to be as predictable as you think it is. And of all the matches on this card, that's the one you want to leave a shocking moment because it wasn't just me. Listen, in terms of a match standpoint, it was a really good match. It was. And I want to take that away from the performers and what they did in the match, from Ethan Page to Ricky Saints and from Tony D'Angelo and Joe Hendry. All those people did a great job. But the outcome for me was more to be a shocking, quote unquote, WrestleMania moment on Stand and Deliver. And that's what you got. If you're going to build that story, because Tony D'Angelo kind of reminds me a little bit of a Tommy Dreamer, although Tony D'Angelo's in a lot better shape than Tommy Dreamer ever was in his career. And you could have had that. You could have authentically built that with time, but you rushed it for this particular moment, which made absolutely no sense. And then, like you said, I'm not really interested in a title defense with Ricky Saints, Ethan Page, or Joe Hendry. All of those guys, I'm not really looking forward to that. If you're going to tell me that Tony D'Angelo is going to find himself in these main event matches, if he was going to be strong the entire match and be like, whoa, look at him. Like, he almost won the title several times just by the small little bit he didn't get it. That would have been more rewarding for me for a guy like Tony D'Angelo, but it was completely rushed. It was more of a shocking moment, and the shocking moment really left. I mean, you want to talk about starting the show off with a match that you thought was going to hype up the crowd. Yeah. If there's any more air left in that arena, it was completely deflated when the ref counted to 3 and your champion was Tony D'Angelo, because when he raised that title up, I heard, I could be wrong, and if people comment if you think I'm wrong, but I heard nothing. I heard small little chants, but they're like smaller chants in the back of the room, and you're like, what's going on here? No. Is the mic on? I'd be like, hello, is anybody there?
Yeah, no, yeah.
They didn't get the reaction they thought they were going to get.
Not that they would ever do it because they'll value the NXT Men's Championship first, but you should have opened up with that then. And then Lola winning would have been better, I guess, but just there would have been anticipation. To me, the most anticipation was all the women's matches.
Yeah.
If you would have just gone to me and said, "Hey, we're gonna have 4 matches in these," I would have watched it because I think all the hype was on the women's matches. The men's division is a huge problem, Trendsetter. It is a huge problem. I'm not excited about a Dion Lennox attacking Miles Bourne at the end, and then he's going to be set up as the next guy. I couldn't be injured. Dark State to me has been such an overrated faction, and have never been invested in that group. Again, Tony D'Angelo, I'm not invested in that guy whatsoever. So it's very underwhelming. There's an issue right now with the men's division. I wish they would find somebody. I guess right now there's nobody.
One wish.
I don't think there's a free agent out there that, like, say I missed back in the day when they would sign some guy and they put him in the audience. Especially, I mean, they don't do it that much anymore now. But I wish there was still those free agents that are still available that you could bring back, or bring a veteran or someone that you're not doing anything with in the main roster, and just bring them down here for a little bit, because right now there's no excitement. And again, Trendsetter, AEW beat NXT in the ratings, and it wasn't even close, dude. Now this is getting a wider margin, and this is the wave now, because the people that are not happy right now, even though they're not being patient with the transition, because there's a transition in NXT, it is developmental. So we need to have time. So I'm going to give it a little time, but right now I'm not invested. I'm only invested in the women's division. That's it. I'll watch NXT for good women's wrestling, and that's it. Look what they've done with look how they've pushed this Stand and Deliver. Look at the female matches, dude. I mean, it's night and day.
But listen, Jeff, it's not even about that. You just said about patience. What patience could I have for NXT, for the fact that Triple H and Shawn Michaels are buddies, right? So it's not like, for example, Vince calling out people from the main roster and Triple H joining NXT be like, "Oh, you're depleting me of my talent." No, there are conversations. If they're not, then they're not best friends then, because there needs to be conversation. That makes sense, right? There need to be conversations between Shawn and Triple H saying, "Hey, listen, I'm thinking about this person. What do you think?" And Shawn would be like, "Oh, give me some more time. I need some more time. Don't work these guys." Like that, you know. You would think there'd be conversations like that, because if you're saying patience, how can I be patient? You took away Javon Evans, you took away Obafemi. Okay, and you're really left with nothing. So it's the responsibility of Shawn and the creative and that developmental system to get those next guys ready.
Right.
I don't think a guy like, just off the top of my head, I think a guy like Javon Evans was the next guy. But what happens? He's not the next guy in NXT now. Now he got bumped up to the main roster. So as an example, if you were to bring Javon Evans back down again after he made his debut and is getting more notoriety from the main roster audience, why would you do that? So what was the point of bringing him up? So you've depleted your own roster and done this to yourself. So I can't have patience for you.
And not to mention the horrible booking job they did of Javon Evans when he was in NXT. He couldn't win the big one. Couldn't win the big one. So that would be the wrong guy to bring up, too. If you're talking about Triple H saying, "I need some guy," that would be the wrong guy to bring back, because, again, unless you're going to shock the world and have actually win a big one, that wouldn't be the guy to do it. And I know Oba right now is, he is now very close to that stratosphere of being the face, right? So I don't know. Like I don't know right now what the solution is, but I look at this men's roster. There is potential, but I don't see that guy right now that's going to be the next guy to carry that NXT brand. And I see them losing a lot more in the ratings to AEW, a lot more coming up now. So they're gonna have to, find that guy. Joe Hendry, listen, he right now wasn't the answer. So I don't know if Tony D'Angelo's personality is going to carry that. Like that's the thing.
Let me just add this real quick, Jeff. I'll let you finish your point there. But we're just talking about call-ups, right? We're talking about being patient with this men's roster. Just imagine, you just mentioned the name Ethan Page. Imagine if he actually gets called up to the roster. You've now depleted your men's roster even further by doing something like that. So if your main answer is Joe Hendry and Tony D'Angelo, you are in serious trouble, I feel, because nobody else underneath has been established enough to pin themselves up there. And I am including Ricky Saints in that scenario, too. He has not been positioned in a scenario where he is believable that he's going to be a foundation, a pillar, a revolution, whatever you want to call it, of that roster. Sorry.
No, I totally agree. And right now there is a huge issue in the men's division. I'm not going to sugarcoat it whatsoever. The women's division, outstanding. It's better than the SmackDown and in the current state, and it's on par with the Raw. So I mean that's our 2 cents, guys, on NXT Stand and Deliver, the reaction show, because we wanted to come on and do it because it was kind of their WrestleMania. Because it was usually done during WrestleMania the weekend, right? So it was a huge part of it, and the excitement. To me, it does lose something when it's not part of the WrestleMania weekend, because it just does. It's just that rub of being during WrestleMania weekend takes a little bit out of it. Yeah. Being so far away too from Vegas too in St. Louis, and the crowd kind of took away from it. And I'm not gonna lie, Chancellor, the last thing I'm gonna say before we wrap this up, the YouTube numbers, man. I don't know whether people were looking for it on Peacock or they were looking at and they didn't realize that it was no longer gonna be streamed on Peacock. Dude, I think at the end that it only got less than 300,000 views on YouTube. The main show, the WrestleMania of all shows. Now, eventually, they're going to move out of it and they'll find a partner. And it's right now, it's their current home until they find somebody. But, dude, less than 300,000 views. I think AAA does more than that. Like
we don't even do that low either. So that's shame on them, man.
But just your thoughts on this. I'm going to say that people still didn't realize it was on YouTube as much.
No, it doesn't surprise me. To your point too, I don't think a lot of people listen. I think they tried their hardest to promote it. I don't think it caught on where people were realizing this was actually going to be on YouTube. So I think that was it. I think you ask anyone, they probably felt, oh, it's not on Peacock anymore. What's going on? So yeah, I think that hurts it initially. I still think there's potential there. We talked about it during the preview where it's like, yeah, this feels more like a demotion. I think with YouTube, it gives it a tremendous amount of opportunities for more people to see it once they know it's on there. But right from the beginning, it's going to feel like a demotion. It's going to feel like, it's going to be bad. And especially the fact that it happened on your biggest event of the year, which is Stand and Deliver. Not a good sign going forward. Not a good sign in terms of the depth of this men's division. Maybe some bright spots in the tag team division. I know you hate that, but, maybe some bright spots there. But to your point, Jeff, this women's division, if the only card was the women's matches, I would have been fine with it, like you said, because those are the ones that, believe it or not, I was looking forward to, because the stories or whatever, however long-winded they were or whatever, I was interested in them, and they did a good job. For the men, a lot of work has to happen, and you know what? You might be virtuous, Jeff, more than I am in terms of having patience, but I think my patience is running thin, because if you're Shawn Michaels and Triple H and you guys are supposed to be working collectively together, and your men's roster, in my opinion, is this depleted, and you do not have any stars to base it off of, and you're going to put the entire thing on Tony D'Angelo's shoulders, which I'm sure he's willing to carry the burden and put it on his shoulders. Great mindset to have, good work ethic, but you have to have other people to be able to work with him in order to build it up. It can't just be him. And if you don't believe in Joe Hendry, then put him up on the main roster or send him back to TNA. We know that's not going to happen. But bring up to the main roster then, because then it looks like his time was cut short. Again, this is another thing where he was hot in TNA, and then Mike Santana just blew him out of the water. And now a scenario where he's here. He's going to be the face of NXT. And now that seems to have subsided. Could it change? Yeah. But right now, for the biggest moment and the biggest card, your guy is not the champion, got pinned clean in the middle of the ring from someone who was not expected to win it. Shocking moment, but what does that do for your main guy?
Yeah, it really is a bold move to do that, especially if you're trying to win a ratings war with AEW by putting the championship on Tony D'Angelo. Dude, again, and then, we talk about the views on YouTube. We talk about, it's just a whole fundamental thing going on in the entirety of WWE that we will definitely talk about too. Definitely talk about SmackDown, this past SmackDown, because I think it was I think it's the beginning of a change, and not in a good way for WWE. We'll talk about that though on the upcoming episode of HSP. Trendsetter, man, another great show. Again, we never really do that, and I think NXT is gonna have to prove to us before we do another live like this for NXT that they got to do a better job. Especially the men's division's got to be more hyped up, man. The ladies today kicked your butts. So that is HSP, our NXT Stand and Deliver reaction show. Make sure you catch all our episodes here on Give a Shot Network. Make sure you like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single episode of HSP on the road to WrestleMania. We'll be back with you guys definitely this week. We'll talk. We have so much to discuss too. A crazy weekend, but we want to wish everybody a happy Easter that celebrated. Happy Easter this weekend. We had Good Friday, and just a happy Easter to everybody who is watching. And again, that road to WrestleMania, make sure you tune in to HSP. If you can't watch us, listen to us on all podcast platforms, and make sure you take advantage of the greatest partnership, the greatest tag team partnership in all of pro wrestling. That is HSP and Bucked Up Energy. Make sure you hit the link in the description and then hit promo code HSP1 to save 20% off Bucked Up Energy products. Trendsetter. What a night. What a night in NXT. All right, Trendsetter, wrap this one up.
And it now has concluded, guys. So, for my tag team partner, Jeff Martin, I'm the Trendsetter, Brian Burga. We are the Jersey Wrecking Crew, the Jesse and the Rippers. We are the Jersey Wrecking Crew. I missed that show. And this is our live YouTube of NXT Stand and Deliver, our reaction to it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys agreed with some of what we said. If you disagree with it, let us know. We love doing it, and we love doing these episodes here with you. But again, like Jeff said, and I mentioned to him after the show, NXT is going to have to earn our trust again in order to do shows like this for NXT, because right now, a lot of that spark that was once there before, it doesn't seem to be there right now. Can it be regained? Of course. Will it take time? Definitely. When? We have absolutely no idea, but we wonder. No, we know definitely that you guys will be on that journey with us when it does happen. So for the Jersey Wrecking Crew, for you guys, thank you for watching HSP. Thank you to Give Shot Network. And remember, we do this for one reason and one reason only. We do this for you, the crew.
See you next time, guys.